This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hangs in and fires it deep downfield. There's a miscommunication, and that ball is going to be intercepted. That ball is intercepted. Mack took a shot at the end zone.
I thought defense obviously did an outstanding job, with the type of firepower they have on offense, just Minnesota, and what they did defensively, Coach Flores. They did their stuff. We didn't overcome a few things.
Yeah, I think every week it's a new week, and you can just take a deep breath and attack each day.
He's excited to have another opportunity. Obviously, a chance for him to rebound, from last week. But I think as a team, same way, rally around him and support him, and get ready to play a really good football team.
One play at a time, one game at a time, and that's what works best. Just get better from last game.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Game day is underway. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show on 1010XL. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. Here are your hosts, Hayes Carline and Mia O'Brien.
Carline, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Because according to some reports, Doug Peterson may have just one shot and one opportunity to keep his job, if only for the remainder of an abysmal 2024 season. Welcome into the Terminex Kickoff Show, everybody, presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade.
There's no Mekhi Phifer. It's a bad deal as the Jaguars head to the Motor City. We'll see if Eminem is in a box somewhere. I would imagine that this will be a game that Lions fans will be excited for, because who doesn't want to see your team absolutely rout an overmatched squad, and that's certainly what this game appears to be on paper. We'll obviously go through the numbers as the show progresses here, but very difficult challenge today for the Jaguars, even if they were healthy. Detroit is just playing at such a high level. They don't have Sam Laporta today, the big-time tight end, and I do think that will affect them. But every other piece of data that we have says that this is going to be awfully difficult for the Jaguars, who do find themselves, Mia, in a precarious position in terms of what the future might hold. And by future, we mean the next 24 hours.
We will dive into that NFL Network report regarding Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, for that matter, status and footing here with the local club. Of course, the Jaguars come into today's meeting with a record of 2-8. The Detroit Lions come in at 8-1. Lions coming off of a dramatic Sunday Night Football victory, 26-23, the final score from H-Town over the Houston Texans. So, if nothing else, thank you for making the AFC South even worse of a division than it already is. So thank you, Detroit, for that, and maybe giving the Jaguars a slimmer of hope, question mark. They keep telling me, well, the second half of the schedule is easier for the Jags, and maybe that is what will allow for things to level off a little bit from that 2-8 mark. The Jaguars, of course, coming off of a 12-7. Yes, 12-7. I told you it would be scoregami 1 week ago today, Hayes Carline. I wasn't wrong. A 12-7 loss at home to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, obviously incredibly disappointing offensive effort, and it just goes to it shows you what we've been saying, which is this is an outdated, obsolete offense, and what worked in 2017 does not work in 2024. And I think the Jaguars have a high-level quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's been utilized. I don't think his production is reflected of that, because I think environmentally he's been held back. But I think it was a stark realization. And not that Mac Jones isn't talented. He's certainly much better than some of the guys that we've seen the Jaguars start in recent years. I mean, he's light years ahead of Cody Kessler and Jake Luton and guys like that. But, I mean, I still think he's probably a top 40 quarterback in the NFL, nothing more. He's a very good backup. And he had no answers. Now, he hadn't played in a while, but I also think that to me, it's always been more of a schematic problem than anything else with the Jaguars, and I think that was a direct indication of it. Defensively, you know, they played well, certainly well enough to win. I mean, it was hard for them to get off the field, but they certainly, you know, if you don't allow the opponent to find the end zone, then that's a performance defensively that you have to be happy about. But it's like when one thing goes right, something goes wrong, and it's just a sign of a coach that's out of answers because they just can't play complementary football at all. And it's been a story throughout, you know, the last basically season of games. I mean, they're 3-13 in their last 16. So, I mean, assuming they lose today and they're a 2-touchdown underdog, you're 3-14. I mean, it's impossible to defend that. I mean, it just isn't. It's impossible to defend winning 3 of 17 games when the owner has invested this much money into the roster. This is not a rebuild. This is not a reload. This is not a retool. This was our chips are all in. The window is open. Let's go win a championship. And they have fallen on their face since the Etienne fumble in the Miami game.
Which should be noted because that 3-13 mark has been a big talking point here in town, Hayes. This was a team that prior to going 3-13 went 14-4 over the span of 2 seasons. And so I think that's what is so difficult to wrap your head around. How did this team go, this program, if you may, go from 14-4 between the end of the 2022 season and an 8-3 start to 2023 to then 2-8 so far this year, of course, coupled with that 1-5 finish from a year ago? It's
a great question, and I'd love to hear your thoughts too. My opinion on it is that the offense is antiquated, and you've got a head coach that has no clue anymore how to build a defensive staff. So he's 0 for 2 on his defensive coordinator hires and 2 nasty strikeouts. And then I think offensively, again, the league changes 10% every year. And you can't expect something that was innovative in 2017 to be innovative in 2024. It just isn't. And so I think the league counterpunched and basically quickly, you know, in a matter of a season and a half, figured out what Doug Peterson was doing, and he definitely delegated too much to Press Taylor. I mean, that's going to be very high up in everybody's story that writes about Doug Peterson getting fired. The stubbornness and the devotion to Press Taylor, somebody who never had shown any inkling that he was ready for that, qualified for it, talented at it. You know, and again, Press seems like a really nice guy and an intelligent person. It doesn't make you a good play caller. You know, there is a gut feel to it. It can't be all analytics. Right. And well, this is the play that on Tuesday morning I decided would be our best play on 2nd and 8 from our 32. So this is what we're going to run. No, you've got to be able to get in a groove and a rhythm. And so I think those are the biggest reasons why this program that got off to a good start. And certainly, like, what I'm writing is whenever this happens, is I do think Doug Peterson left the Jaguars better than where he found the Jaguars. Yep. But it is time for the organization to move on. It's a conversation we've had on Helmets and Heels during the week. The idea of Doug was the right hire for 2022. He was the right hire as this organization emerged from the Urban Meyer debacle. He brought credibility back to the organization. He brought back the idea of, look, there's some seasons that maybe they can be playoff contenders, and there's some seasons where at the very least they're going to be fighting until week 18 of the season, even if that, of course, means an epic collapse at the hands of a variety of rivals, but most noteworthy, of course, the Tennessee Titans up in Nashville. For me, and this is our first soundbite from Doug that I want everyone to take a listen to for today, my biggest concern, and again, I'm not in those meeting rooms, you're not in those meeting rooms, we're privileged enough to be in the building at times during the week, Hayes, but emotionally,
This is a guy who, when this team was 2-6 in 2022, the same fight, never say I didn't say anything nice to you, Florida fans, the same fights that right now you are seeing those young Gator defensive players playing for Billy Napier and playing for a common cause with, you saw that from the 2022 Jaguars. As much as we've been told by players that the fight is still there, and I believe that, and I definitely believe they're still playing for each other, there has to be some sort of disconnect, at least from my vantage point, conversations that I've had between the head coach, the coaching staff, and the players in that locker room. Here is Doug Peterson on managing the emotions of a 2-8 season.
No, it's really not. It's a great group of guys. You know, this is week 11. You know, guys haven't really had a break, obviously, and they keep grinding. Are we defeated, disappointed, discouraged? I mean, there's moments of that, obviously, because of the way the season's going, but by no means are they, you know, quitting or lack of energy or wanting to improve, get better as a team. I still see that, you know, every single day. It's credit to those guys.
Even the emotion of that response or lack thereof, the sterile nature of, no, it's a great group of guys. Like, that is so different than what I saw from that man 2 years ago. And I don't know what has changed in 2 years, Hayes, outside of another defensive coordinator where it just doesn't seem to work, and Press Taylor being elevated to being the primary play caller.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing, you know, for the players, because offensively, I think they realize these guys, I mean, I don't know how much Trevor pays attention to what's going on around the league, because I don't know that Trevor has a great passion for this league. But I think, you know, for the most part, I think players pay attention to what other teams are doing, even if it's just, hey, I'm watching the Sunday night game, I'll watch the Monday night game, I'll watch the Thursday night game. There's enough now in primetime windows where you get a pretty good sense of what's going on, right, you know, around the league. And I'm sure offensively, you know, these guys are seeing these other schemes and saying, boy, why don't we do some of this stuff? You know, I mean, it's out there. The league is begging us to take this stuff, and other teams are really doing a good job of capitalizing on it, and we're not. So I think, you know, offensively from a player standpoint, it's frustrating because you want your coaches to put you in the right position, to acquire that schematic edge. And it just isn't there for the Jaguars offensively. And then it's frustrating defensively without even getting into how bad their coordinators have been. But I think it's frustrating for them because they also see it. They know even probably more than the offensive guys, because they're breaking down opposing offense every week. And so they're seeing some of the things that's being thrown against them. And they're probably like, how come I never see us do this kind of stuff? And so again, he was the right hire. I think fans, I think fans should remember Doug Peterson well on his way out. But it is time. They have got to go find. Shad Khan has always hired, I would say, more the present. Seattle's defense is working really well. Let's hire Gus Bradley. Urban Meyer was this great college coach. Let's hire Urban Meyer. Doug Marrone he's
already here.
Looks like he's already here, and it looks like he's harnessed something as the interim. Let's hire, and this whole like Bill Belichick thing, that's a story for another day. But like Shad Khan has to finally say in his hire, where is this league going offensively, and who can I hire who over the next 5 years appears to be on the cutting edge of where offense is going in this league. He's never done that. And it's time that he does it. And obviously there's a litany of candidates that would fit the bill. But the number one candidate the Jaguars are going to see today in Ben Johnson. And
Ben Johnson is part of a staff. And thank you to Dan Miller, the play-by-play of the Detroit Lions, for joining us again on Helmets and Heels earlier this week. Ben Johnson was retained from a Matt Patricia staff that in 2020, ownership in Detroit decided for the first time to completely not only clear house, they fired Matt Patricia, they fired the GM, but over the remaining 5 weeks of the NFL season, they did an internal investigation and assessment. And what they found, according to Dan, who's been there for 27 years, what they found was that the disconnect between the football operations, the marketing, the ticket sales, the financial, there was such disconnect and no one wanted to work there. And what they did was they brought in a former player and Chris Spielman to head a board of trustees, if you may, And with that board of trustees, they didn't even go out and hire the GM. They didn't go out and hire the coach. The first thing they did was they said, what does it mean to be a Detroit Lion and to play as a Detroit Lion? Once we've established that, now we go out and we find the GM, and the GM helps us find the coach. That coach, of course, happened to be, in case you couldn't recognize that wonderful sonorous voice in our open of today's Terminex kickoff show, one Dan Campbell. And what's crazy to think, Hayes, is that Dan Campbell was hired in the same coaching cycle as none other than Urban Meyer. And so many around the league heard the clip about biting kneecaps and said, that guy is crazy. Well, that guy now leads a team that is 8-1, is the apple of so many's eyes in the National Football League. And I asked Doug Peterson earlier this week, Dan Campbell's Lions, how did they build it? And perhaps is that a model that other teams should have been following?
I mean, I go back to probably the early, Jimmy Johnson days with the Cowboys, right? I mean, he took over a franchise that was 1-15 or 0-15, 0-16, something like that, and within 4 years, they're competing for championships. And obviously they've done things well there. They draft well. Free agents have all been a big part of it. The more success you have, he's going to lose coaches. He's going to bring new coaches in. Faces are going to change. But I think there's just the one thing that I think when you look at Dan and really the teams that have had success, it's consistency.
Interesting word, consistency. And it brings it full circle, and it answers your question to me, Carline, as we get ready to say hello to Frank Frangie on the other side. This was an operation that when they were 2-6 to start 2022, what did players tell us week in and week out? Doug Peterson is the same guy. He shows up to work. He's the same temperament. And I'm not saying that he's not still that same temperament, but something isn't consistent in the approach between 2022 and 2024. We are live here on the Terminex Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. The voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars, Frank Frangie, will join us on the other side. Of course, you can get in on the conversation by hitting us up on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, 641-1010. Already see a couple of you guys have sent in some questions. We will get to those a little bit later in the program. We are also live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X. You can leave us a comment in the MyBookie Digital Studio as well. Frank Frangie joins us live from Detroit next, right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus, Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
When mice and rats show up in your space, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast before they have time to multiply. Terminex knows how to shut down rodents, and they'll keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so do we. Don't live with a rodent problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we want it, we got to bring it.
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJags.com.
Being an athlete means having a healthy desire to do as much as you can with your body. For as long as you can. Gatorade has lower sugar, electrolyte-backed hydration options to keep you rehydrated and replenished. Gatorade, for every athlete.
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jaguars and Coke Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hey, sports fans, it's Hayes Carlyon from MyBookie. How did we get to NFL Week 11 already? If you're not signed up yet, get in the action now with promo code 1010XL to double your first deposit. It's the best sign-up deposit bonus in the industry, available to Florida bettors. This weekend, the Jags go to Detroit as the biggest underdog of any team this week, 14 points. If you think the Lions can beat them by 2 touchdowns, then bet it. That's what I would do. The Ravens playing in Pittsburgh as a 3-point road favorite with a 48-point over-under. I'm looking at the same game parlay here. Take the Ravens and the under, and don't miss a great nightcap with Sunday Night Football. Cincinnati at the Chargers. Give me the Chargers. MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. It's the best deposit sign-up bonus in the industry. So sign up now, use promo code 1010XL, and make yourself a winner with MyBookie. Don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
I won't begin by asking you if Doug Peterson will be fired today, Frank Frangie. I won't ask you if the Jaguars have a chance as a 2-touchdown underdog up in Motown against the Detroit Lions. Instead, I will begin this conversation here on the Terminex Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, by asking, how was that steak last night?
Oh, the steak was fantastic, Mia. Good morning to you and Hayes. The steak was about the size of Palatka, I would say. It was fantastic. Prime and proper, by the way, in Detroit. I got this list of nationwide, my top 10 steak restaurants. Top 5. I don't know if you've been there or not, but it is spectacular. And I was well fed. Thank you for asking, and thank you for caring. It was a wonderful night here in the Motor City. How's everybody today?
I bet. I do have to tell you, because you informed me that Prime and Proper is among your top steakhouses in the continental United States. I, unfortunately, have never been to Detroit. Ended up not scheduling for me to travel for 10-10 for today, and I'm not going to lie, because the last time you saw me, I told you I was losing my voice. Let's just say I woke up yesterday and was very glad that I didn't have to get on a plane to Detroit, because probably was a little bit more than just losing my voice. But we're here. We are live. Terminex Kickoff Show. We're rolling. And, yeah, enough about steak and enough about sickness. Let's get back to those first 2 questions, Frank Frangie. Choose your own adventure, Goosebumps. Would you prefer to discuss the Ian Rappaport report off the top regarding Doug Peterson's status as the Jaguars head coach? Or is there a particular matchup that you feel today could give the Jaguars an upper hand up in Detroit?
Well, the 2 questions are connected, Mia. First of all, I think that report hit about the time we got to the steakhouse last night. So you can imagine, and then we got back to the hotel, how it reverberated around here. Let me start with the first one. I don't know what's going to happen here. Teams often, the National Football League's been very aggressive this year. There's already been a head coach replaced. There's been a number of coordinators replaced. That stuff seems to happen faster than it's happened in the past, or sooner in a season than it's happened in the past. And obviously that thing has worked its way around the halls of this hotel, as you can imagine. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. If you go back and read Ian's report, what the report said is he's pretty certain it's going to happen, and it could happen next week. I don't think the report says look for it to happen next week. It says it could happen as early as next week. But the certainty is that it's going to happen one way or another. So the timing of it, I don't know. What I do know is it's the worst time for the report to come out if you're trying to win a football game. These guys are young players. They're worried about their future. They're worried about their lives. They're worried about supporting their families. So whoever leaked it to Ian, the timing wasn't very good. You know, you'd rather have it come out Monday or Sunday night or after the game was over. So it's got to affect these guys. So it was going to be a hard game to win anyway. Look, there are 2 touchdown underdogs. They're playing with their backup quarterback, and they're playing against a team that really has sort of found that formula. You guys were talking about it earlier. So yeah, it's a tough challenge, man. And those 2 questions you asked me are related. It's naive and disingenuous to think for a minute that a report like that. This is Schefter and Rappaport. This isn't some guy in a website in Topeka, right? This is Ian Rappaport suggesting that the heads are going to roll and everything's going to get blown up at some point, and maybe as early as next week. So I don't know the answer to whether or not that's going to happen or not, but it's the worst possible time for that story to come out for a team trying to win a football game.
Yeah, without a doubt. Frank, in terms of the game today, how would you like to see Doug and Press try and get this offense going early on to at least throw a scare into the Lions?
Yeah, obviously, they got to stay on the field, Hayes. I think that's the big thing, and that's harder now with no Tank Bigsby. He's their better downhill runner. I will say this. Travis Etienne is finally healthy, like completely healthy, and very motivated. Travis is a sharp guy, smart guy. He's hearing everybody say that maybe Tank's the better downhill runner. He's hearing everybody say that this and that. I would think that Travis Etienne is a very, very motivated guy. You heard his comments this week during the locker room session. You picked up on that. But they got to stay on the field. I would think short passing game. I would think I don't think they need bombs down the field. I don't think that's what Mac does best. I think Mac is more of a short control passing game quarterback. I think Trevor's more of a take shots quarterback. We've seen that. And they got to stay on the field. What they can't do is 3 and out, 1 first down, then punt. So somehow, some way, I think you're going to see a lot of Travis Etienne in space. I would like to see that mid-range game with Evan Ingram. I would like to see Parker Washington targeted. He wasn't hardly at all. And, yeah, the big question, the $64,000 question, Hayes, is do they get Brian Thomas Jr. more involved? Yeah, all of the above. Maybe a jet sweep here or there. Maybe some wide receiver screens here or there. Somehow, some way, you got to have how many 12, 13, 14 play drives did the Vikings have? Well, part of the reason for that, the defense didn't get off the field. As well as the defense played in getting takeaways, they didn't get off the field as well. But the offense didn't stay on it. And that whole complementary football thing is real. Short passing game, some plays in space, a jet sweep or 2, somehow, some way put together some double-digit drives because that's what they haven't been doing.
That Jaguars defense gave up 402 total yards last week at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings, Frank. And certainly this is an even more high-powered offensive attack with the Detroit Lions. Now, with that said, Jared Goff threw 5 picks last week. The Jaguars defense forced Sam Darnold into throwing 3 interceptions 1 week ago. And so I'm curious, what is your perception of the Lions offense and maybe how this Jaguars defense could have found something this past week and it could carry over to this Week 11 matchup?
Well, I think the second question is the more pertinent one, Mia. Rather than comparing opposing offenses, because the Lions and the Vikings are both having very good years, is what did the Jags do differently? I think they played more zone. I think they had their eyes on the quarterback a lot. And, look, teams that play a lot of man, Jags play more man than anybody in the league. The Jags are also last in the league in total defense. I don't think that's a coincidence that those 2 stats exist. I think teams that keep their eye on the quarterback get takeaways because you're watching the quarterback. So zone teams get more takeaways than man teams do. Man teams cover closer. They knock balls away, particularly deep balls. But teams that watch the quarterback, and you know this, tend to get more takeaways. I would think you're going to see more of that. I would think you're going to see more eyes on the quarterback, sitting back in some zone, watching what Jared Goff does. Jared Goff's a good player, but he did throw 5 interceptions last week, and he's in a little bit of somehow they came back and won that game, but he's in a bit of a funk too now. So I think that's part of it. And to those 400-plus yards the Vikings had, and you're right, they didn't get off the field, but part of it is the dang offense didn't stay on the field. They had very few snaps in that game. So the offense has got to contribute to that. They really do.
I would think from a Jaguars perspective, you got to get Brian Thomas Jr. 12 to 15 targets in this game. I mean, almost regardless of – I mean, the Lions aren't going to do anything ridiculous when it comes to coverage. And, I would think at this point, don't you have to – you can't walk off that field and Brian Thomas only got 4 or 5 targets.
Well, here's what's happened. No, first of all, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. What's happened, and this is the maturation of any young player, Jordan Jefferson went through it. Justin Jefferson rather went through it. All young players go through it. Once you become the thing, Hayes, and you know this, once you become a star, you're the thing. Well, now you're going to get the double coverage. Now you're going to get the safety shaded to your side. Well, that's what's happened. And it really happened when Christian Kirk went out. Now the opposing defense are saying, okay, they got one guy, right? They had Kirk before, they got Ingram, and they got one guy. So he's got to fight through that some. Part of that's on him. Part of that is he's gotten flustered with it a little bit and hasn't fought through. I think he would tell you that. They will tell you that. Part of it is you might have to force the target even when it's not there a time or two, which they haven't been doing. So they've got to now overcome the fact that people say, okay, Gabe Davis doesn't seem to be doing very much. Parker Washington is a young player. Devin Duvernay just came back. They got one guy, and we're going to do all we can to take away the one guy. So, I mean, the Jags did that with Jefferson last week, but he still found a way to fight through it. So I think that's what you have to overcome. So I agree with you. I think if he's your best player, get him the damn ball. I think that's what you're saying, and I 100% agree with that. But but what's going on now is teams have figured that out, and they're doing all they can to take him away. That's the chess match that the Jags have to work through. Really, Hayes, not just this game, but look, Jags have 7 more games. Regardless of who's coaching or who's GMing or who's doing whatever, the Jags have 7 more games they're going to play. So you got to find a way to get your best players involved. I totally agree with that.
Frank Frangie joining us from Detroit on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Of course, he will be on the call today at 1 o'clock with the Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks live from the Motor City as the Jaguars face the Lions right here on the Superstation. Frank, we'll get to your X factor on both sides of the ball here in just a second, but I'm curious, big picture, can be someone on offense, someone on defense. What scares you or who scares you the most when it comes to the Detroit Lions?
Boy, that's a great question. Where do you start, right? I mean, they got the second best record in the league. I mean, so where do you start? I'll give you a couple ideas. On offense, those 2 running backs are fantastic. They've done a great job of pairing the 6-year veteran David Montgomery with the younger player, the second-year guy, Jahmyr Gibbs. Do you realize both guys have the exact same amount of carries? They both carried it 122 times. There's great balance. That's probably as good a pair of running backs that there are in the league. Gibbs is fantastic, and Montgomery still has a lot left. I mean, David Montgomery feels like he's been around. He's only 27, and Gibbs is a young guy. So I think those 2 guys offensively scare me. You know about Jameson Williams. Everyone knows Amon Ross St. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. But offensively, it's the 2 running backs more than anybody else. Defensively, they don't have a lot of stars with Hutchinson out. And believe me, 97 is Hutchinson's really good, like really good. But they don't have a lot with him out. Darius Smith will play for the first time for them this week. We'll see if he rushes the passer. They're physical. They're hard to run on. The 2 linebackers, Anzalone and Campbell, Anzalone, the former Gator, and Campbell Mia, they're not fast guys. They're not super fast downhill guys. They're not playing space guys, but they're tough, physical linebackers, inside linebackers that are hard to run against. That's what they are. So the physicality of the defense, and by the way, you know who's a really good player? Brian Branch, who they drafted. Where did they draft him? In the
second round.
Second round, right? Boy, is he a good player. Man, is he a good player. And so they've got good, physical, tough-nosed football players. Terry and Arnold, the rookie's been up and down, okay? But they've got good, tough-nosed, physical football players. But they don't do anything special defensively, and they miss Hutchinson badly. But offensively, those 2. If I had to pick something offensively, those 2 running backs are really good players. They really are.
All right, we're going to play the game because we did it on the Frangie Show earlier this week, and so indulge us out there. Okay. But if they win, Frank. If they win today and they go into the bye and they get rested I think they're going to beat Houston off the bye, even if Trevor doesn't play. I just think Houston is running out of fumes, and it'll be Houston's 13th game in 13 weeks. Can the Jaguars make a run at this thing in a pathetic division?
Yeah, I think if you win today, you're in the Super Bowl. Hayes, I just think there's no question in my mind. I think the sky's the limit. Here's what I do think. We had some fun with this on the program last week. Hayes is right. Here's what I do think, and I'm serious about this. If you're a player and if you're a coach, and now you read the Rappaport report, and you know it's been a tough year, what keeps you holding on here is it's not mathematically over. No matter how comical it seems to some, to us, to whoever, that's really what's got to – and I'm serious about that. That's really what's got to keep you going. You've got to say to yourself, somehow, if you can find a way to win the game and catch your breath, then everybody knows the schedule does lighten up, and everybody knows the Texans are leaking some oil. It's the most unlikeliest of unlikely. We all know that. But I think that's what's got to keep you holding on. In fact, I know it is. I know that's what they're talking about in the locker room because I know it is. I've talked to them. And the only thing that keeps you holding on now is that little glimmer of hope. Can it happen? Probably not. But I will tell you, if you win and you go to the off date, having an off date, and then you come back, and the point you've been making all week on our show, Hayes, is that the Texans are tired. Their bye is way too late. Doug told me in our interview this week that he thought the bye was a little late. Well, the Texans is 2 weeks later. So they're out of gas. They've got to come to Jacksonville. They've got to play a team that just had a break. And then you got the Titans twice and the Jets and the Raiders and the Colts. So you have an easy – compared to what you've – this has been a brutal stretch, by the way. I'm not trying to defend them or make excuses. But this stretch of games has been absolutely brutal, which is why it's so important to get going which they didn't before this stretch. So do I think they can get there? Probably not. But I will tell you, if you're the players on that team, if you're the coaches on that team, if you're in that locker room, that's what you have to hold on to, and that's what you take with you when you go into that game today. I really believe that.
We will hear that conversation between Frank and the head coach, Doug Peterson, here momentarily. But first, Frank, before we let you go on the Garber Automall hotline, who is your X factor for the Jags in today's matchup, and who is your X factor for the Lions?
Travis Etienne for the Jags. I said earlier, they got to hold the ball, Mia. They can't go 3 and out. They can't go, okay, 1 first down, then punt, which is 4 and out. They can't do that anymore. They've got to hold the ball to have a chance in this game. They don't have Tank Bigsby, which hurts because he's a great hold the ball guy, right? So I think Travis Etienne has to have a big game. I don't think there's any question he cannot have a big game. I'm going to go defensively for the Lions. They really miss Aiden Hutchinson. They went and got Zadarius Smith for that reason. Didn't play last week. Wanted to kind of work through his personal stuff. And just not that there's any bad personal stuff. Just had to get moved and get adjusted to the change and whatnot. So I think 99 Zadarius Smith will be the key guy. If he's harassing Mac Jones all day, the Jags are going to be in trouble. I think offensively, let's see, hope Travis Etienne can get going for the Jaguars. They got to hold the ball. They got to help that defense a little bit. If you keep seeing Logan Cook run out there, that's a bad sign, and that's what we saw last week. So hopefully that won't be the case today.
By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't note that in my Instagram memories, I don't know if you know where the Instagram memories are in the app, Frank, but it popped up 2 days ago that after the Jaguars lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City in 2022 during Week 10, ESPN made a graphic of their different tiers of teams' postseason odds. And the Jags were in a tier that said, so you're saying there's a chance. And I reshared it, and it showed up in my memories earlier this week. And so it happened once 2 years ago. Not so sure it'll happen again. Frank Frangie, thank you so much for joining us as he does each and every week here on the Terminex Kickoff Show. And, of course, we'll be on the call at 1 o'clock.
Okay, me and Hayes, you guys take care. Thank you.
There he goes again. Frank Frangie, Jeff Lageman, the Hall of Famer, Tony Baselli, and Bucky Brooks will be on the call from Detroit between the Jaguars and the Lions at 1 o'clock. Before we head into the remainder of the Terminex Kickoff Show, we do want to bring you that conversation between Frank Frangie and Doug Peterson. Certainly, there will be some of you out there in our listening audience who believe this may be the last time we hear from Doug Peterson in his weekly conversation with Frank Frangie, brought to you by Renewal by Andersen.
The coach speaks. Jaguars coach Doug Peterson joins Frank Frangie right now. Presented by Renewal by Andersen Custom Windows and Doors.
All right, time now to talk a little Jaguars football with the coach Doug Peterson, who joins us now on a kind of a fall day. Doug, we finally had some fall weather out there, I guess, for your walkthrough today, huh?
Yeah, it was a great day to be outside. Beautiful fall weather. Got a little cool overnight, so it's been a gorgeous day, and finally finally got that humidity and that heat to break a little bit, and had a good practice today.
Good to hear, and we all feel better in this kind of weather. Hey, all right, so Mac Jones gets his second start. Now, obviously, it's not his second NFL start, but certainly hadn't started in a while. Started last week. What can you gain from having done it one time now? He's maybe some of the jitters go away. He's away from home, maybe a little more confident. How much will it help Mac this week, Doug, that he played that game last week?
Oh, I think it's big that he played last week, and definitely learn from it, and be able to maybe even go back and just watch it, even before this game, just to kind of get a feel for the game again, and really, I think now just kind of settle in, and of course we're going to be on the road. It's going to be loud, and sometimes that even helps guys calm down just a little bit and kind of settle into the game. But I just think it was big last week for him, to get back out there and now get an opportunity to go back and do it again. And I would think a part of that too is not just him, but other players getting adjusted to him. The cadence is different. His style in the huddle is different. We've talked about this. His leadership style is a little bit different than Trevor's. Probably helps everybody, right? That they've all almost like a dress rehearsal of sorts. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's probably the biggest thing. It's just how he calls plays, versus Trevor, and then maybe it's a little bit different play. Maybe it's a play that he likes that maybe Trevor didn't like, and so we're having to tweak some things that way. So guys are hearing things a little bit differently, and then the communication, on and off the football field, in practice during the week, in the meetings during the week, and just how he operates. I think having a second week is going to benefit everybody that way. Let's talk defense for a second. Your defense really stepped up last week, Doug. Made some changes over the last 2 or 3 weeks in terms of what you did at safety. Is it starting to pan out a little bit? How'd you feel about how your defense, not just last week, but how they're kind of playing together now? Yeah, I think you go back to the New England game, in London at Wembley, and then fast forward to Green Bay, Philly, Minnesota games. I think our defense has, incrementally increased each week. I've been more impressed with the secondary, being able to stick to some of these top receivers that we've been playing, and the tackling has been better. That's one of the things I've noticed in the secondary now is tackling. The ball being in space and getting a receiver open in space and then getting them on the ground, I think has been huge. We've sort of minimized the explosiveness, defensively, which is big. Obviously, Antonio Johnson, Andre Sisco rotated at that safety spot last week. Savage has been a great, change, moving him back to safety several weeks ago. So everything seems to calm down. You got a healthy Foye, a healthy, Tyson Campbell. Those guys are back doing what they do best. And really, I think just understanding, Ryan's scheme and what he's asking them to do has all been a positive. Again, as you know, Frank, they're going to have to do it again this weekend. Detroit has no shortage of offensive weapons, and they're going to have to put up a good performance again in order for us to have a chance to win this game. Yeah, let's talk about these Lions. Obviously, one of the best records in the league. They're playing hard for Dan Campbell. What have they done to turn the corner a little bit? And obviously, Jared Goff's playing at a great level. What have they done team-wide? As you watch them on tape, what do you see that makes them special, Doug? Well, number one, I think you're right. I mean, they take on Dan Campbell. He's excitable. He's got a lot of energy. And he brings that to his team. It's not like D'Amico Ryans down in Houston. Same type of culture there. And his guys play extremely fast and they play physical, and then they're playing with confidence, right? So, obviously getting Jared Goff a couple years ago, going out. Obviously, the running game is huge. Some of the draft picks they've had, and then just filling in the pieces along the way through free agency and things like that. And I think the world of Glenn, the D coordinator. I think he's done a great job there, just coordinating the defense. They don't do a ton, but what they do it well. They do it fast. And it's a really good football team right now. Let's talk about the health of your team. It looks like you made this point a minute ago, and it feels that way too, that other than Trevor, for the most part, it's getting healthy, isn't it? Dewey's back. He's helping on special teams. I want to ask you about Tank Bigsby because I know he'd been banged up a little bit. Ezra Cleveland had been banged up. But for the most part, I feel like your team's healthy.
What about those few guys, and how do you feel about the kind of the general health of the team?
Yeah, I'm obviously pleasantly surprised with this late in the season that we don't have, knock on wood, we don't have more guys that are missing more time. They missed it early in the season, but now they're back. You're right. We'll get Ezra Cleveland back this week. That'll really be an anchor there in the offensive line. Trevor's going to miss another game, but he's progressing good. I'm optimistic. We'll see where he's at going into the Houston game, after our bye week next week. And then Tank is going to be a game time decision. He's been limited, didn't practice early in the week. He'll be a game time decision, and if he can't go, then Bayless Jones, who's on our practice squad, could be activated. So, I like the health of our team right now. Everybody's sore and beat up, and we're going to have those nagging injuries, but it's time for us to play good football and win this game.
Final thing or two. Is it hard to have a bye this late? I mean, just to me watching it, it's been a rugged stretch of these NFC teams who are really good. Now you can't predict who's going to be really tough and physical and good, but it's a late bye. Is this good? Is the late bye good for a football team now? Do you like it this way or no?
I maybe not quite this late in the season, especially after. We spent 10 days in London, and you got that time change. We've come back and we've had some good wins. I think week 9, week 10, somewhere in there is a good place to have a bye. But listen, it is what it is. It's week 11. We got to go on the road and try to get a win this weekend. And if we can do that, it gives us a great couple of days of just rest and healing and getting ready for the back. Really the last 6 games of our year. Yeah, you're right. Well, I'll tell you this. It doesn't matter what game it is. Your team has battled all the way to the last minute and a half of just about every game. So I know you'll do that again. Yeah. And I know it's been a tough go for you. But hey, enjoy the weekend, Doug. Thank you for that. I'll see you on the plane tomorrow, and look forward to the game in Detroit. Thanks, buddy. All right. Thanks a lot, Frank. Appreciate it. All right. Doug Peterson, head coach of the Jaguars. Jags and Lions, 1 o'clock on Sunday.
That interview, of course, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson and is from Friday. As we now know, Tank Bigsby has been ruled out for today's contest. Who else will be available? Who won't be available? We will hit the fairer and fairer injury report coming up next right here on the Terminex Kickoff Show.
From Duval to the world,
all communication lines are clear.
Download the 1010XL apps for free on Apple and Android devices and listen wherever life takes you.
Imagine a place where the sun is always shining, the drinks are ice cold, and the food is bursting with flavor. Welcome to Hurricane Grill and Wings, where locals and visitors alike gather to weather this storm we call life. And you can escape here anytime you like. Today's forecast, hot, crispy wings with a 100% chance of frothy beers. Later, we're predicting big burgers and seafood tacos moving in. Escape the ordinary. HurricaneWings.com.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jaguars and Coke Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
Joe Coy, Just Being Coy Tour.
Mentally, I've become my dad. My dad was like, oh, you listen to that hippity-hoppity? And now I'm sounding like my dad because I'm like, you're listening to that mumbly-mumbly? You're listening to that mumbly-mumbly? They don't even say words. Mumble.
Friday, November 22nd, 5-Star Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets on sale now at JoeCoy.com. Don't miss them, Jacksonville. Joe Coy, Just Being Coy Tour.
Rake Lock in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
She's very comfortable talking sports and hanging out with the boys.
Mia O'Brien here, still providing the best multimedia sports coverage in Northeast Florida on 1010XL radio, video, and social channels.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
Bolt City AC, heating that rules.
Is your AC ready for the holidays? Bolt City Heating and Air ensures your AC stays in tip-top shape. We know that a clean AC is a healthy AC. Upgrade yours for just $96 a month and enjoy free duct cleanings with your new system. Plus, ask about our 0% financing options.
Bolt City AC, we got the crew. Bolt City AC.
Visit BoltCityAC.com.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus, Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Help the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl create holiday experiences for local families. The Send a Child to the Game program provides families a free game day experience, including transportation, t-shirts, pregame meal, and game tickets. Let's partner with VyStar Credit Union to send 1,500 kids and families to the game. To help reach this goal where youth can witness history at the 80th Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, make a tax-deductible donation to Gator Bowl charities at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The personal injury attorneys of Farah & Farah present this injury update. Farah & Farah, Jacksonville. Exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome back into the Terminex Kickoff Show. As we told you prior to that last time out, yes, not only is Trevor Lawrence already out for this game against the Detroit Lions coming up at 1 o'clock today, Tank Bigsby also ruled out on Friday in the final injury report of the week. Another player ruled out yesterday, that being Yasir Abdullah, the second-year linebacker, a late scratch and did not travel with a hamstring injury, according to the team. 3 players, or rather 2 now, listed as questionable. Ezra Cleveland, who, as you just heard Doug Peterson say, expectation is that the starting left guard will make his return this week against the Lions after missing the last 2 games. Mason Smith also listed as questionable yet again with an ankle injury. Keelan Robinson, the rookie running back, the 5th-round pick out of Texas, making his way back off the reserve injured list, was downgraded to out yesterday after initially being listed as questionable on Friday. Carline, obviously, Tank Bigsby not being available certainly changes the complexity of this offense, but having Ezra Cleveland back is certainly a boost for that offensive line.
Without a doubt. And, you know, Tank is had a really good year. I was disappointed in the pass protection last week against Minnesota. I mean, and it wasn't just Tank. ETN's got to do a better job as well. But, yeah, it's certainly you want to be full strength, not having Trevor Lawrence, not having Tank Bigsby. very difficult. It will be good to have Ezra Cleveland back, as you mentioned. And then on the Detroit side of things, them not having Sam Laporta is big. If the Jaguars were even remotely competent, like that's the kind of thing that could sway this outcome. I don't know that it will be enough because obviously it's so heavily tilted to the Lions. But Laporta is somebody, I mean, he averages 14.6 yards a catch for a tight end. I mean, that's incredibly impressive. Now, he's maybe not had the second year that people had hoped after a dazzling rookie season, but I am eager to see how Jared Goff goes about moving the chains consistently without having Laporta in the lineup.
Brock Wright, 2-touchdown game incoming. I'm just kidding.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, you talk about X Factor. You know, you cannot let him kill you.
Laporta is the only player on the active roster who has been ruled out of today's contest by the Detroit Lions. Ben Neiman, speaking of Iowa products, questionable with an ankle injury that forced him to miss practice on Friday. Aside from that, the only other players on Detroit's injury report are in their 21-day window in their designation to return from the reserve injured list. You mentioned it, Hayes. Let's hit our X factors for this one. The tight end position, certainly of note for both of these sides, but I'm actually going to go back to something that Frank Frangie brought up when he joined us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Once again, this team has to run the football, but we've now gotten to a point where even the running backs are maybe taking a couple shots, perhaps, in the media. Here's Travis Etienne earlier this week.
Maybe a couple more runs, maybe a couple more. But no, I feel like they've been doing a great job. I feel like our line been doing a great job. They've been getting us to second levels. And I feel like for us, we just have to find ways to make that safety miss and just pop that long one. And if we find a way to do that, we're going to be in great space.
Get out there and start getting rolling.
Nah, because I feel like getting the ball at halftime kind of helps. Like, it kind of, because we have a great defense. I feel like defense go out there and get a stop. So it's like, we still have a chance to put points on the board first. So I feel like we can't think about too much about that. I feel like just start the game off with a run play. I'm going to get us going.
You heard the man. Start the game off with a run play. I know Dylan Denmark, our producer, noted that last night, despite winning the ball game, the Florida Gators only ran on first down once last night. Don't be taking lessons from Billy Napier, Press Taylor. Run the ball.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, and Etienne is going to have to be a huge part of the plan today. And if the Jaguars are going to win this game, pull the upset, you have to think Etienne's going to be somewhere around 150 yards from scrimmage. And so he's obviously a huge cock today for the Jaguars. I think an X factor for me, Mia, is Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. It's a big challenge today going up against Taylor Decker and Penny Sewell, obviously outstanding tackles for Detroit. But Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker have got to find pressure against Jared Goff. They've had really strong seasons, but this is maybe the best challenge. I mean, it should be a fantastic matchup on both sides pretty much every snap. I tend to always watch the ball, but I'll try to remember, today as I'm watching on TV, try and keep up with what's going on both edges there, because it'll be outstanding matchups. But that's one where the Jaguars have got to find some production in what will be a very, very challenging set of circumstances. You're not going to obviously have any kind of crowd environment helping you if you're Josh and Trayvon. And obviously the Lions are incredibly balanced. But when Jared Goff does go to throw, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen have got to be in his face, bringing him to the ground.
While the Texans were not credited with any sacks last week, they were credited with 5 quarterback hits. So it's not to say that you can't generate pressure against those 2 elite tackles, but certainly it is going to be a challenge. So Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Travis Etienne, those are our X factors for today's game between the Detroit Lions and your Jacksonville Jaguars. When we return, hour number 2 of the Terminex Kickoff Show, we will head behind enemy lines. Tim Twentyman of Lions.com joins us coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Injured in an accident that's not your fault? don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan at Von Rowan Law, and over the past 20 years, I have fought to recover millions from my clients throughout Jacksonville. If you've been injured in an accident, have mounting medical bills, can't work, don't worry. Zach's got your back. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve and will be there every step of the way. Go to Zach'sGotYourBack.com to set up your free consultation with me today. Zach'sGotYourBack.com.
Help the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl create holiday experiences for local families. The Send a Child to the Game program provides families a free game day experience, including transportation, t-shirts, pregame meal, and game tickets. Let's partner with ViStar Credit Union to send 1,500 kids and families to the game. To help reach this goal where youth can witness history at the 80th Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, make a tax-deductible donation to Gator Bowl charities at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a dandy, and do it today.
Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJax.com on 1010XL.
Everything about the game has changed, except for the most important thing. What you have inside. It is what drives the game. It refuses to be ignored. It sweats every day, turns an athlete into a legend. Gatorade, is it in you?
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jaguars and Coke Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Joe Coy. Just Being Coy Tour. Mentally, I've become my dad. My dad was like, oh, you listen to that hippity-hoppity? And now I'm sounding like my dad because I'm like, you're listening to that mumbly-mumbly? You're listening to that mumbly-mumbly-mumbly? They don't even say words. Mumble-mumble-mumble. Friday, November 22nd, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets on sale now at JoeCoy.com. Don't miss them, Jacksonville. Joe Coy, Just Being Coy Tour.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T with my book. And how do we get to week 11 already? If you're not signed up yet, get in on the action with my promo code 1010XL to double your first deposit. It's the best sign-up deposit bonus in the industry for Florida batters. This Sunday, the Jags travel to Detroit as the biggest underdogs of any team this week. 14 points. If you think the Lions can beat them by 2 touchdowns, then bet it. But that's a huge spread. I'll take Jacksonville with the points. The Ravens are playing in Pittsburgh as a 3-point road favorite with a 48-point over-under. I'm looking at a same-game parlay here, taking the Ravens and the under. Don't miss a great nightcap with Sunday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to L.A. to play the Chargers. I'm betting the Chargers win by 3 covering the 2-point spread. MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. It's the best deposit in the industry. So sign up now using my promo code 1010XL and make yourself a winner with MyBookie. Come on, somebody.
This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Hour number 2 of the Terminex Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, is here. And so is our next guest. Tim Twentyman of Lions.com joins us now on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Tim, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, no problem. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great, and I'm going to preface this conversation just like I did our conversation with Dan Miller on Helmets and Heels earlier this week. And Hayes, I think I speak for everyone here at the Superstation when I say, Tim, we're going to ask you about the matchup today, but something tells me we are also going to ask plenty of questions about the infrastructure in Detroit and how the Lions have been able to build a sustainable contender over the last 4 years. So let's begin there, Tim. For the Lions to be 8-1 right now at the onset, or the midpoint of the 2024 season, it's obviously not a surprise to anyone in that building or anyone in Detroit. But if I had told you 4 years ago that this team under Dan Campbell would be 8-1 and a Super Bowl favorite, your reaction would be?
Hope. There was certainly a lot of hope, but really not surprised a ton when you meet Dan and just the way he is and how players love him. And guys would do anything for him. Look, he's been in this league. He's been a player. So he's not going to ask players to do anything he hasn't been asked to do himself. Or hasn't done before. And I think the biggest part to 8-1 has just been the continuity. It's rare that you have offensive, defenses, and special team coordinators together for 4 years now. And that's what they've had in Detroit. So, look, the players know these schemes, know these systems, especially offensively with Jared Goff and Ben Johnson. And it's pretty rare, and they've got this continuity and belief in Detroit, and that's the big reason why they're sitting 8-1.
Hey, Tim, it's Hayes Carline. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I wanted to ask you, just what's it like getting a chance to cover Ben Johnson? How would you describe him, and how would you describe his offensive system?
Versatile. I think that's the thing that makes Detroit so tough to play is they can come in 1 week and say, okay, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, this one's on you. Let's pound the rock. I mean, they've rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown in every single game this year. Jahmyr Gibbs went 7 straight games where he had a 5.0 rushing average. So, with that offensive line that they have, which is probably top 3 in the NFL, they can do that. But then they can turn around, too, and say, okay, Jared Goff, let's get that play-action passing game. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously an all-pro. Jamison Williams has added a huge element, the deep threat to this offense, so they feel they can go in and throw on people, too. And so, when you've got a system that you're really confident in and it all plays behind one of the best offensive lines, you can do a lot of different things, and it makes it really hard on the defense.
You can find him on X at T20Man. Yes, 20Man on X, and he is the senior writer and insider for Lions.com. Tim, when it comes to this entire operation, when it comes to the synergy between Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, the offense, like you noted, the fact that the coordinators, there's been some consistency there. My question is, why did the Lions get it right this time? Why was Dan Campbell the right hire? Why was Brad Holmes the right hire? How did they go about this?
It was obviously a little bit different of a process because it wasn't Brad who hired Dan. It was, owner Sheila Ford Hampton, the president and some of the special, counsels to them. They went out and identified Brad and they want him. And then they identified, Dan first and then Brad. And really, the most important relationship in any organization is the relationship between the head coach and the GM. If they are on the same page, if, you have a GM that has an eye for talent, and obviously Brad does, if you look at what this team has done via the draft over his 4 years, and then you have a coaching staff filled with a lot of players that have a track record of developing talent. So not only do you have a GM that can identify the talent, and then you hand them off to a coaching staff that can develop it. And that's why you see this Detroit Lions team as one of the youngest rosters in the NFL, but still one of the most talented because that relationship has been so much on the same page. And I think that is important. You look at all the good teams around the league, the consistently good teams. That's the one relationship that is in lockstep, and I think it's so, so important.
Give us a sense of Ray Agnew, the assistant GM. What's been your experience with him? How much credit, if any, does he deserve in this? And in your opinion, is he ready to be a general manager somewhere else?
Yeah, I think so. You know, he's been right there as Brad Holmes' right-hand man through this whole journey. He's got a great eye for talent. You know, Brad relies heavily on his staff, with Ray being a big part of that. I just think he's gotten an opportunity to see how it's done at a really high level now for a number of years. You know, Brad always talks, even when they do their, you know, draft press conference and stuff, they do it together, him and Ray. So, you know, I hope someone does give him a chance because I think he's got a great eye for football, and he's learned from one of the best in the business over the last 4 years. I think he's ready.
Couple more for Tim Twentyman on the Garber Auto Mall hotline, of course, joining us from Detroit and Lions.com. I promise we will get to the game at hand coming up at 1 o'clock today, Tim. Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions last week. More of an aberration and a credit to the Texans defense, or has it been kind of a rough spell of late for Goff?
No, it really hasn't been a rough spell. It's actually been the opposite. He was really, really good going into that game. I mean, he hadn't thrown an interception dating all the way back to week 3 before that game. And you look at some of those being hit, balls tipped. You know, there was probably one that he would probably say, I probably should have had that back. And even there, Jameson Williams ran too shallow of a route. So the one thing, Jared's been through a lot over his career, and he can wipe, you know, adversity away pretty quickly. And even defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn said this week when he came up to, you know, his weekly press conference, he said, you know, the most impressive player that I thought in last week's win wasn't even on my side of the ball. He said it was Jared Goff. You know, the way he just kept coming back, all those things happen, and then you lead touchdown, field goal drives to end it and win the game. Yeah, I think Jared will be just fine. He's got real good control of this offense, like we talked about before. I think him and Ben Johnson can sit in a room and finish each other's sentences. They're on that much of the same page. So I think that was more of an aberration. I would expect him to play well today against the Jags defense that ranks 32 in passing.
Yeah, I would expect them to play very well myself, Tim. I think you're dead on. Not having Sam Laporta, is that a concern? How's the depth behind Laporta at tight end for Detroit?
Yeah, Brock Wright is a guy who signed a restricted, actually, free agent contract. San Francisco wanted him really bad. You know, 3 years, $12 million. Detroit actually matched that. He's a guy that's been a playmaker in this offense, so he's going to step in, you know, take a lot of that, take a lot of those snaps. But look, this is a deep football team. We already talked about, you know, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but, you know, also Amon-Ra St. Brown and with Jameson Williams. They have a ton of weapons on this football team. Now, look, Sam is a terrific talent. He was a Pro Bowler as a rookie, and he was their leading receiver last week. So they're going to feel it a little bit, but they really like what Brock Wright brings to the table, and it's not like it's going to limit their offense in any way, or they're not going to call something that they wouldn't have. They have a ton of confidence in Brock.
Big picture, Tim, I think coming off of a dramatic win like the Lions had last week, you could make the argument that this is a trap game for Detroit, perhaps an opportunity at hand for Jacksonville as a 2-touchdown underdog. But something also tells me that this is a Lions team that certainly doesn't rest on their laurels. And if anything, there was enough teach tape from last week that it perhaps will inspire a performance here today.
Yeah, certainly they can look at that tape in the first half and be like, okay, we've got plenty to clean up, and, you know, we can still be a lot better. But, you know, to me, this Detroit team has talked about the Super Bowl dating back to the offseason. That's a word that hasn't been used in Detroit. Look, I've been here for 15 years, and that hasn't been talked about a lot going into season, very much here. And they know that for that to become a reality, they need the NFC to run through Detroit. You know, that means home playoff games. That means winning the division. So I would be very shocked if they were to have a letdown, you know, knowing that they got this game at home. They've played 4 of their last 5 on the road, won all of those, and now they get the friendly confines of Ford Field. One it's really become one of the hardest places to play in the entire NFL. And to let one slip or not show up, I'd be really surprised, because they want that 1 seed and they want the NFC playoffs to roll through Detroit. And to do that, you've got to win like games today.
Tell us about Amon-Ra. Does he have a chance to go down as one of the best players in franchise history, and what's he like to cover?
Yeah. It's funny. He hasn't changed since day one he got here. Obviously the 4th-round pick, and he can recite the 16 receivers that were taken ahead of him, and he's always played with that chip on his shoulder because of that. It was good to see him get paid in the massive $100 million contract this year, but nothing has changed. He still catches 202 balls after practice every single day. He's still one of the hardest working guys on this roster. And you look at some of the numbers he's put up over his first, few seasons in the league. He's right up there in terms of catches, yards, with some of the all-time greats for how they started their career. So look, he's Jared's security blanket. He's that guy on third down you look for. He just has a knack of getting open. And, when one of your hardest workers is also, one of your highest paid, I think that's great for the locker room. It's good for the young guys to be like, okay, look, I want to be next. How do I get paid like that? Well, just look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, how he works every day. Just be like him, and you'll be just fine. And if you have a bunch of those guys in your locker room, like Detroit does with Penei Sewell, Jared Goff, then I think that's a great example, and that's the core. That's the veteran leadership that a good team needs.
Tim, as we wrap up with you on the Garber Auto Mall hotline, I know from a couple other episodes we've had over the last few weeks, not sure if you're allowed to make a score prediction since you are a writer for Lions.com. So if you can't make a score prediction, answer this following question. The Detroit Lions win this game if blank.
If they don't turn the football over. Obviously last week you had 5. You got 2 of your own, but I think you are a much more talented roster than Jacksonville. I think we can all agree with that. I think anybody coming into this game, I think Jacksonville would probably agree with that. So, what's the great equalizer in the NFL? It's turnovers. And so if, you don't turn the football over, if you take care of your opportunities in the red zone, the one loss the Lions have this year was Tampa Bay week 2 at home. They doubled Tampa's yards, but they were 1 for 7 in the red zone. They left all those points on the scoreboard, and they turned the football over. So to me, just play a clean football game, and I think Detroit will be just fine, and they'll be off to 9-1 and still rolling in the NFC.
Tim Twentyman of Lions.com. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Tim.
All right, guys, anytime.
And again, you can find him on X at T20Man. Yes, T20Man over on X. When we return, still a whole lot to do on the Terminex Kickoff Show. Our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys, are coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
What are the many ways to experience 1010XL?
Why don't we just take it from the top?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at 1010XL.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split, AC, plumbing, and electric.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called The Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A. member FDIC.
He's not Pistol Pete, he's Pete Prisco.
Been on the wanted list almost 20 years.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Frangie Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Jaguars fans, want to meet some of your favorite players? Coke Florida, Publix Supermarkets, and the Jags are giving you the chance. Join 1010XL at Publix, 170 Village Commons Drive, St. Augustine, Tuesday, November 19th at 5. For autographs, pictures, raffles, and more. Get off the sidelines and get to Publix to grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola, Coke Zero Sugar, or any of your favorite Coca-Cola beverages using Publix digital app. The Jaguars and Coke Florida. There's magic when we cheer together at Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hey, John, are you ready to cruise into the holidays in style?
Absolutely. The King of Price has incredible offers that you won't want to miss.
That's right. Buy a brand new 2024 Escalade and receive a $3,000 rebate.
Or if leasing is more your style, you can choose a 2024 Escalade or a 2025 Lyric and receive a $1,000 rebate.
It's the perfect time to upgrade your ride and make this holiday season unforgettable.
Visit us at Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard in Jacksonville. Plus tax tag title $899 admin fee and resist all on approved credit.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. I've heard people selling diamonds saying they have high-quality diamonds at rock-bottom prices. Can that happen?
Frank, that'd be like a Mercedes dealer saying they sold at the same price as a Yugo. That just doesn't happen in any industry, and people who believe it are always the ones looking for something too good to be true, and they normally find out later it was. In diamonds, when you talk about higher-quality diamonds with credible diamond grading reports from GIA, AGS, or Forevermark, the prices are higher, but so is the quality and value. Now, for a customer to understand that, they have to try to learn things like going to the internet, but they're going to get confused because they don't have an expert to ask questions to. The best way to get answers is to come in one of our stores and ask one of our professionals what those questions are and have them explain real diamonds to you. The result will be you'll understand more about a diamond's quality, price, and value by coming in.
Underwood Jewelers in San Marco, in Avondale, and at the shops of Ponte Vedra.
If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
There's no way to prepare for the impact an accident makes on your life. That's why we've spent 40 years getting ready for that moment when you need compassion and immediate action. The right doctors, investigators, our team of experienced attorneys, and your free consultation is already in place. So if you've been hurt, remember, the Farah Safety Net is right here to catch you. All you have to do is call Farah and Farah. It's what we built. Jacksonville.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now the keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys, fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
We already gave you our X factors for today's matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. Hayes, of course, going with Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker and that pass rushing duo. I went with Travis Etienne and the run game. But another key to this game, another player who has to make an impact, Hayes Carlion, has to be Brian Thomas Jr. I know we talked about early on in the program and with our friend Frank Frangie that because Mac Jones prefers perhaps short to intermediate routes just because of his skill set, maybe you won't see as much BTJ. But Mac told reporters earlier this week he understands he has to get Seven the ball.
I think you can't chase it. You just got to distribute the ball, whether it's a handoff or a throw or quarterback run, whatever that may be. I mean, you got to distribute the ball, and my job is to get it to the open guy and do that on a consistent basis. And I feel like BT's an awesome player. He's done a great job in his rookie season. You know, I've been a rookie. It's tough. There's a lot of information coming at you, but he's done a great job, and I definitely want to give him the ball and just stick to my keys as well and get him going and get the whole team going. I think really, as the game goes along, if you're moving the ball well, everyone's getting it. It's just sometimes tough, in the last couple weeks, just not having as many plays and trying to get into that rhythm. So we're definitely trying to find that.
See, Mac has keys too, not just us with our keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys. Look, my bigger key than this, bigger picture than this, Hayes. I would love to see Brian Thomas Jr. get involved. I think there are ways you can get him involved, lather him up, quote unquote, early and often. But I just want to see the wide receivers being somehow incorporated into this offensive game plan. Parker Washington was not targeted a single passing play last week. That can't happen.
Yeah, and again, it's been disappointing. And I again, if I was Doug Peterson, I would, you're possibly down to your last game here. I'm not walking off that field in Detroit without Brian Thomas Jr. getting a double-digit amount of targets. And, I mean, the messages would be very clear to Press Taylor, which is get him the ball, and to Mac Jones is like, look, we're going to have to take some chances today to have any shot at this. So, I mean, obviously, you're not going to get a lot of Brian Thomas waving his arms, and quarantined alone on the field. I mean, obviously, it's going to be tight, but, he's obviously your most explosive player, and you've got to take chances. So, I mean, I think that's got to be a big key for the Jaguars today. I think defensively, Devon Hamilton, I think, has been playing really well. I think that's got to continue if they're going to have a chance, because you look at what the Lions are able to do on the ground, and they've rushed for 1,326 yards this season, 4.7 yard average, 15 touchdowns on the ground. That combination of Gibbs and Montgomery is just so potent. So if Devon Hamilton and company, if they can clog things up for that Detroit ground game and get them in some bad down and distance situations, then maybe Goff is off a little bit. Maybe without Laporta, they're not as effective throwing the ball as they might like to be in critical third down situations. I mean, that's what you have to hope for. I mean, third down has been a nightmare for the Jaguars all year, and it's been the total opposite for the Lions. And the Jaguars are 29th third down offense. They're 26th third down defense. Meanwhile, the Lions 6th best in the league on third down conversion offensively, and they're the best defensively on third down. So can you get that a little bit more even? I think a big key to that would be Devon Hamilton and company slowing down the Detroit run, and then maybe you're able to get Jared Goff off the field on some 3rd and 8, longer incompletions, things like that, throwing short of the sticks, rallying up, make a tackle, that kind of stuff. Because I don't see the Jaguar offense having a 9 of 15 on third down today. So you're probably not getting it from your offense. So defensively, you've got to get those stops to have any chance of pulling this upset.
And, of course, part of why the Lions want to run the ball is that they have the highest percentage of play-action passes of any team in the National Football League. That's where we've seen Jared Goff have so much success in Ben Johnson's system. I asked Foye Oluokun earlier this week as far as defending play-action, diagnosing it in the moment, and how can the Jaguars stop it?
Really just continue to study that run tape. Understand how the linemen come out during passes, how they come out during play actions, formations where they might look big, but they're really building it up to you come up expecting a big people run, try to bang the receivers behind you. A lot of it's predicated on stopping the run first, though. So if they continue to run, they're going to be panicked for the runs. That's when they're able to hit them play action. So Trent has got to own the game first, and then we can play the game within the game, understand when the play actions are coming.
So, once again, to your point, Hayes, if they stop the run and force Jared Goff into 3rd and long, per se, that is where the Jaguars' defense could have an opportunity, especially on third down.
Yeah, and, again, I think it's, in looking at the secondary, what are your expectations when you look at those matchups with, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams? They've certainly got some explosive, reliable guys. What do you expect to see from this Jaguar secondary?
Yeah, I do think, first off, this is a matchup of two teams that actually are in the bottom 5 in the National Football League. And I know it's weird to hear the Lions are in the bottom 5 statistically of any category, but they are bottom 5 in yards per game allowed through the air. And that is where I think the Jaguars, if Mac Jones can push it down the field to a Brian Thomas Jr., let's say, and in turn, if you're the Jaguars defense, this is where you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I think that will they have the horses for the course? That's the million-dollar question. I think you'll continue to see the rotation at safety. I do think you'll see Darnell Savage more there because I think Jarian Jones has proved something in his first season in the National Football League. He is their nickel corner of the future, and I think actually a pretty interesting showdown between two of the brighter spots at that position in the National Football League between Brian Branch and Jarian Jones. And so then the question becomes, will we see, to Frank Frangie's point, more zone? Will we see more dime packages with Antonio Johnson to try to account for so many different pieces? Again, no Sam Laporta. I'm very curious, but I think it comes down to, do the Jaguars have the personnel to match up with that many weapons? Ultimately, this is the same group that did limit Justin Jefferson to under 60 yards receiving a week ago. And so while we may look at it and say they had 402 total yards, did the Minnesota Vikings, ultimately the bend don't break was enough last week, but I think a lot of that had to deal with Sam Darnold throwing the ball away 3 times.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Another thing today is the Jaguars need to start fast. They haven't been able to do it at all. It's actually one thing, again, when you look at Detroit, I'm glad you brought that up because they're not a perfect team. They get off the slow starts. Detroit's actually been outscored in the first quarter this year, 49-38. The problem is, once Detroit kind of has an idea what you're doing,
they adapt.
They throw haymakers. I mean, in the second quarter,
I didn't think you have enough time at halftime for halftime adjustments, though.
Well,
in the
they
NFL.
don't even need those. They're making them in game because in the second quarter, Detroit's outscoring its opponents 126-40. And in the third quarter, they're outscoring the opposition 78-40. So once Detroit sees what you've been doing for those first 15 minutes, they do a great job of adjusting and then just absolutely getting you in a corner and obliterating you. And so that's going to be the key for the Jaguars. You can't get off to a slow start today, although that's been obviously the Jaguars' identity all year. They've got to figure out a way to come out of that first quarter with a 10-7 lead, something that makes you feel good, because you're going to have to withstand the storm, because what history tells us is when the Lions get you into that second quarter, that third quarter, they are merciless.
And that is why our friend Mike Duraco asked Travis Etienne earlier this week, Mike Duraco, of course, of ESPN, asked him if the Jaguars should be taking the ball first. I know that's something you've been crying for and yelling for weeks on end.
Just change something. I mean, you got to do something to get in rhythm. It's a little thing, but that's all you can do. All you can do is little things.
Right.
I mean, the plane's in the air. So, all you can do is make little adjustments. And, that is one that I would suggest. Because, again, with the way the season is gone, with everything hanging over the program, you just get a sense that if Detroit gets up to a 10-0 lead, I think the Jaguars are going to fold their tents and get routed today. So they've got to get off to a good start to it to have any chance of making this a game with 5 minutes to play.
To that point of changing things up, let's head into the locker room for one more. I asked Mitch Morse this week if the Jaguars at this juncture at 2-8 need to change how they practice, need to change how they play, if only just that little bit.
Well, you try to change. I mean, I think you have to look at it pragmatically, which is you do have to change a little bit. Now, are we going to just flush everything down the toilet and start over? No, but I think individually you look at what maybe might not be clicking throughout the week, and sometimes it's minute changes, sometimes it's big ones. And I don't think whatever you do, it's not hitting panic mode. It's understanding that some things might have to change because we're just not satisfied with where we are.
So even if it's little things, something has to change, especially to your point, and in case you're just joining us on the Terminex Kickoff Show, knowing that the NFL Network has already run with a report that this could be Doug Peterson's last game with the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, we know the confidence isn't overly high. How could it be? They're 3-13 in their last 16 games. Now, not all these players were here for last season, but enough of them were that I do think it translates over. And even if you're a first-year player here, no one thought 2-8 was on the table, in training camp. So I think confidence is very fragile. And again, if they get off to a poor start, I just worry that you're going to see basically what we saw in the Bills game, where they basically just had no answers. And they may not have any answers because I do think the Lions are exceptionally coached. Aaron Glenn, we haven't talked a lot about, the defensive coordinator. He's an outstanding candidate to be a head coach. I mean, we all want, I think most of the fans, I think, want an offensive coach. Would love Ben Johnson, whether it's Ben Johnson or some of these other really talented offensive coordinators in the league. You want an offensive coach. But if you want to look on the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Glenn is outstanding. And so that's the thing here. I mean, this could easily be a game where it's like Buffalo, and it just looks like varsity versus JV, because I think if you took the two coordinators and the head coach, so 6 guys in this matchup, I think Detroit has the top 3 guys. I mean, I just think that's where it is. I think Detroit has the 3 best coaches in this game, and Campbell, Johnson, and Glenn.
Those are our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys. Before we take our last time out, and then, of course, hear from Dewey Wingard on the other side here on the Terminex Kickoff Show, I did want to get to one on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, Hayes, which, of course, you can chime in at 641-1010 with a score prediction, your thoughts. The MyBookie Digital Studio on YouTube is also open as well. This is from 599, and from a comment you made earlier when we were discussing where did this thing go wrong under Doug Peterson, and you alluded to an offense that is antiquated. And so 599 says, so the offense wasn't outdated in that 14-4 stretch between 2022 and 2023. When did it get antiquated? And I think the answer ultimately lies in the idea of the ball is not going to bounce your way every single game. The idea that most games in the National Football League are decided by 1 score or less. There is a sense of, did the Jaguars, especially in that 6-2 start to 2023, were they the benefit of the ball bouncing their way? And the second half of the year was merely a regression to the mean where the ball did not bounce their way. And this is actually who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all great points. I mean, I think it just comes back to the league is in constant change. And I just think that Doug Peterson, by his own admission, he's been asked this, the offense it's the same offense. It's the same offense he was running in Philly. He believes that this is it. This is my system, and I'm not going to change it. You can't operate like that in this league. You've got to be constantly evolving and growing, and they aren't. But he has told us that they're not. And so I just think that that's how it happens. This league will catch you quick. And I think that's what's happened. And once this league catches you, if you cannot adapt to the counterpunch, you're going to be in trouble. And that's what's happened here. The other thing I would tell you is this. Doug Peterson is not going to be an offensive coordinator in this league again. I think, honestly, this will be his last NFL job. Press Taylor will be lucky to be the quarterback's coach at TCU next year. I mean, you're not dealing with guys here that this league wants anything to do with. I think everybody respects the career Doug Peterson has had as a head coach. I think he's well-liked, but I don't think anyone is looking to have Doug Peterson run their offense once the Jaguars move on from him. And Press Taylor has shown no reason why he should be running an offense in this league. So that's the other thing I would look at is what would these men be if they were free? And I do not think they will have any prospects in the NFL.
One segment to go on the Terminex Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. As I mentioned, we'll head into the locker room one last time, as well as taking a look around the AFC South, coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Bull riding. The perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's Terminix.com. Terminix.com. Terminix it.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my take on the Weekend with Dan. Find it on YouTube and Facebook. Weekend with Dan, brought to you by Stone Core. We do outdoors better.
Bold City AC, heating that rules.
Is your AC ready for the holidays? Bold City Heating and Air ensures your AC stays in tip-top shape. We know that a clean AC is a healthy AC. Upgrade yours for just $96 a month and enjoy free duct cleanings with your new system. Plus, ask about our 0% financing options.
Bold City AC, we got the crew. Bold City AC.
Visit boldcityac.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJags.com. Break in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Starting your game day.
The Terminix Kickoff Show.
Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch on 1010XL.
One more segment to go here from 1010XL World Headquarters before we hand it off to Brian Sexton, JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and the gang over at the Publix Tailgate Show. But first, let's head on into the locker room one last time with your Jacksonville Jaguars. I caught up with, which this is insane to say, Hayes Carlyon, Dylan Denmark. I caught up with one of the 4 players. Actually, no. Technically, it's only 3 players now who have been here previous to the 2020 season in that Jaguars locker room. They are in order: Logan Cook, who was drafted in 2018 by the Jacksonville Jaguars; Josh Hines-Allen, who was drafted 7th overall by the 2019 Jacksonville Jaguars; and the only other remaining member from that 2019 team, then an undrafted rookie free agent. Here he is, the voice of your Jaguars in more ways than one, Andrew Dewey Wingard. Pleased to be joined and happy to welcome back the one, the only, Andrew Dewey Wingard. Dewey, great to see you back in practice, back on the field. How did the first game out there feel?
Felt good, like I never left.
I know we talked a little bit here in the locker room about your recovery. You had never really suffered a significant injury in your entire football career. Just walk us through the last 3 months for you.
Yeah, it was just kind of out of the blue, but thankfully had a good surgery, put a screw in there, and got right to it. So it's been weird watching it from the sidelines and stuff, but coming back and having a lot of time to think. It's now just go do and don't think.
You've been very gracious and transparent talking about sports and sports psychology, the mental side of sitting there on the sideline. How was that such a challenge, or maybe not for you?
Yeah, it was. I put in a lot of work in the offseason. It actually prepared me for the injury, so I've been in a very good mental headspace, and it's carried over to now, so I feel good.
As far as the team on the field goes, obviously not where you guys wanted to be. What is the mindset heading into Detroit this week?
Just go play. Can't think about anything. Just go play individually. Don't think about the team. Well, you're thinking about the team, but you just got to handle your end. You can't, get outside. Everyone just handle their business and go play.
You've been a part of teams that have found themselves in a similar situation. You've been a part of teams that have found themselves in this situation and turned it around. What is it going to take for this team to do the latter?
You got to win. You got to win out. But we just, like I said, got to go play and not put too much weight on it. Just got to go win, got to go play, and you win by executing and doing your job and not thinking and playing free.
One thing I know Andre said yesterday is he feels like there's even more buy-in now as opposed to when things were going good. How would you evaluate that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all still here. We're fighting. And you definitely don't see quit for sure.
As far as the Detroit Lions go, it's obviously a pretty high-powered offense. What have you seen from them on tape that you say, hey, this is an area that we know we have to be on our P's and Q's?
Have to stop the run. If they get the run going, it's all hands on deck. So we got to stop the run game, and then you can't get him on Goff in rhythm. So definitely got to be on our P's and Q's, stopping the run first, and then just be able to react downhill on the pass.
Last one for me. Being around you guys in the locker room, it does feel loose. It feels like you guys are together. So big picture here when it comes to obviously pushing out that outside noise, but finding that energy here in the locker room. Is there a message or a mantra you guys have tried to really harness this last week?
I wouldn't say there's a word or anything, but we have the same guys we had in the last 2 years, so we're all still, us all being just boys and good friends really helps us. And it's definitely, you don't feel like you're just a bunch of independent contractors playing for a 2-8 football team. It's like we are all still here and love each other and want to go win with each other.
So, Dewey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
What a great quote. Great interview. I mean, that is one of the best quotes of the year.
That's a blue-collar man right there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I was hoping...
Lions 58, independent contractors 3.
I was hoping for maybe it wasn't always the Jag or something. I mean, he did trademark it. Maybe he still gets royalties on that because he did trademark it. But, independent contractors. Thank you to Dewey Wingard. Look, I mean, again, this is the third longest tenured member of this franchise. He is undoubtedly one of the most vocal leaders, and you get the sense from him, and we appreciate Dewey's time, but you get the sense from him that it is frustrating when you consider this is that same group of guys that rallied from a 2-6 mark 2 years ago. That, yes, unfortunately, things spiraled out of control to end the 2023 season, but that group was 8-3. And so it has to be frustrating because outside of the defensive coordinator, not that much has changed.
Yeah, and that was a great interview. Well done. And yeah, I think it is hard, and again, I am curious to see their level of fight today. Because you certainly can make the case, a lot of the games have been one-score games, and I understand that, and they've really only not been competitive against Buffalo and Chicago kind of towards the end of that game. So I am eager to see the fight. I don't think it matters. I don't think the fight ultimately saves Doug and Trent because it's just you got to have weight. You got to have execution to go along with the fight. But I am intrigued to see what the level of fight is today because to me this signals that this could be an ugly game for the Jaguars. I mean, obviously the Lions are more talented and the Lions are, in the middle of what could be a really special year, maybe the greatest season they've ever had. But even beyond that, like, will the fight be there today? And my gut tells me that it's probably not going to be there to the liking of Wingard and guys that when they're out there are always giving their heart and soul to trying to win a game. I don't know that it's going to be there today.
Before we make our picks and give our final thoughts, let's take a look around the AFC South.
For 52 for the win. It is just good. Just inside the upright. Jake Bates, hometown hero. And the Lions have come all the way back.
The Detroit Lions did indeed defeat the Houston Texans on Sunday night last week, 26-23, outscoring Houston 19-0 in the second half of play after Houston took a 23-7 lead into the locker room at half. Look, this is a Lions team that you alluded to, Hayes. They start slow. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and they seemingly have all the answers, whether that requires a comeback or a strong start to a ball game.
I was really impressed with that win because Houston really out-hit them early. I mean, Houston, you could tell. D'Amico Ryans had them ready. They were incredibly physical and out-hit Detroit. And the Lions weathered it and then got super hot, got the pick to start the second half, and the rally was off and running. So I'm interested in seeing Houston this week, going to Dallas, who obviously has been left for dead. But I'm telling you, the Texans are not a strong team. They are 6-4, and they are falling apart. Yes, they're getting Nico Collins back, and I do think they'll win at Dallas, but I think they're a team at 6-4. I would not be surprised if they won 8 games this season. You look at what they have left, and again, I think the Texans are incredibly vulnerable. Obviously, it's the weakest division in football, so I'm eager to see how the Texans respond. But I give them credit. They gave the Lions a world of fight in the first 30 minutes of that game. Detroit able to rally and get past Houston on that remarkable field goal to end the game.
Meanwhile, the Anthony Richardson-led Indianapolis Colts traveled to New York to face the 3-7 Jets. It's an interesting situation in Indy because, of course, the idea of, Joe Flacco gives us the best opportunity to win a ball game. But at the same time, Anthony Richardson is the future. What are your expectations for the former Florida product today?
Not high, but I am just shocked at how poorly Flacco played. I thought he would stabilize them, and that the Colts would be somewhere around 8-9, 9-8 with Flacco. But he was atrocious, and and obviously now if you're going to get atrocious play from Joe Flacco, then you might as well go back to your younger player and hope that Richardson can work his way out of his struggles. I don't think he ever will. I think it was a bad pick when they made it, and I think it'll go down as a bad pick. But I commend Indianapolis for quickly saying, all right, Joe Flacco is not the answer here, and if we've got to go back to our promising in their eyes quarterback to see if he can finally start to figure some things out. But I like the Jets today. Even though the Jets certainly have their own flaws, I think the Jets in a very ugly, close game, I think are able to nip the Colts.
90 seconds to go. Finally, the Tennessee Titans are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. I think an underrated storyline, Denard Wilson in his first year as a DC has the best passing defense in the National Football League, although probably would still lean Minnesota as they travel to Nashville.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Titans defensively have done a nice job, but I think just their offense is so broken. I would expect the Vikings to win today as well. So again, you could be looking at another 0-4 week for the AFC South. Would not be the least bit surprising.
60 seconds remain. Dylan Denmark, kick us off as we make our final score predictions for today's contest between the Jaguars and the Lions.
I like the Lions. I like it big. I know the last 2 games we thought there would be a blowouts. They weren't. I like the Lions. I don't know, about 38.
13.
38-13. Carline, I think you've already made your pick for the independent contractors.
I think it's going to be a rough day for the Jags. I think the Lions cover. I'll say the Lions win 34-6.
I do have the Jaguars covering that 13.5-point spread. So give me Lions 30, Jaguars 20, and then we can debate whether changes will be made or not. Our thanks to Frank Frangie from joining us up in Detroit. Our thanks to Tim Twentyman of Lions.com for joining us as well. For Dylan Denmark, for Hayes Carline, I am Mia O'Brien saying so long from the Terminex Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. The Publix Tailgate Show comes up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We will catch you later.
Like you're just a bunch of independent contractors playing for a 2-8 football team.